So now it's time for episode 6 and to reveal the next steps in Jack's spiritual development. In the last video I got quite bogged down with analysis outside of the game, so let's get back into Rapture and see where we are now. To recall, Jack has now integrated his masculine and feminine sides through ingestion of the Eve plasmid. The Fool is no longer, the Magician tamed, and Jack is fully integrated. After the first plasmid, we descend further into Rapture, passing the final broken remnants of the Sun God, spiralling down through the tunnel as it cracks and creaks until we find our feet again. Splicers now start to come thick and fast, and so Atlas teaches Jack how to combine his new magical power with the wrench in order to be more effective against these crazed, drug-addicted lunatics. We also see a few dead fish and bottles of wine littering the floors like flotsam and jetsam. I should probably point out here that we will reconsider the allegories of these symbols later, as I am keen to get deeper into the story, but both are obvious in their reference to Christianity. After disposing of the splicers, we are guided up a long red staircase which is reminiscent of Jacob's ladder. Jack is climbing the Masonic ladder of spirituality, and this is reiterated as when reaching the top we see the goddess holding up the moon again. Jack then in the Masonic tracing board is only at the first step of the ladder, as he is symbolically under the lunar symbol and a fair distance from crossing over to the solar. Ascending another elevator, Atlas mentions that he needs Jack to save his family by traversing to Neptune's bounty. But why Neptune? Well, guess what? This planet symbolised by the three-pronged trident represents a number of themes in the game. So now I need to introduce you to another esoteric school that will be referenced in the game, namely astrotheology. Astrotheology was a term first penned in the 17th century and refers to a worship of the stars and other heavenly bodies as deities. We have seen this before in my analysis of the tracing board, where the three Abrahamic religions worshipped the Sun, Moon and Saturn. Neptune is an outer planet which, unlike the smaller and closer planets we usually think of, has a very long orbit around the Sun. Planets like this one, therefore, affect generations as opposed to individual lives and are ruled by only one zodiacal sign. In this case, the feminine Neptune rules over Pisces, and of course, Pisces is a water sign and symbolised by, you guessed it, two fish. Neptune is the planet concerned with dreams, illusions, deception, distractions and psychic powers. She also extrudes kindness and grace, two qualities Jack needs to save the little girls, but on the negative side, she represents deceit, betrayal and addiction. What better fit the attributes of Neptune have than this to encompass the qualities of Rapture along with Atlas's betrayals? If you were to describe the main qualities of Rapture in a summary, can anything be more accurate than the qualities of Neptune? I think not. Furthermore, as a quick digression, Neptune is also symbolised by the trident in Roman tradition, and the crescent represents creativity and the three prongs point to divine receptivity. Notice again we have a tripartite concept with, in this case, the three prongs symbolising the mind, body and spirit, and its references to Christianity are obvious. And so our hero is off to Neptune's bounty to save Atlas's family, or so he hopes, and in the meantime passes by the Kashmir restaurant, whereby, well, of course, we find another highly significant symbol. This is on the wall next to the lady clutching a pram. We could possibly think of the pram as representing a manger with the baby Jesus but absent, and thus highlighting the complete lack of any religious morality in the game. The gun has now become the next compass of moral power, which is why she is nursing it, but this might be a stretch. What is more evident is the huge symbol of the white rabbit on the wall next to her, and just in case we miss it, another one inside of the restaurant as we enter. I mentioned before I'll be referencing Alice in Wonderland later in these essays, and so we'll come back to this at another time. For now, we just need to place this in our mental kit bag as we're about to meet the Empress, which is card 4 of the Tarot. Finally, keen-eyed viewers might also notice that the poster refers to a masquerade, and again I'll return to this in more detail, but for now we can think of this perhaps as the social masks we all wear in order to survive life's trials and tribulation, and tread the spiritual tapestries we are destined to walk. In other words, not all the faces Jack will see are all that they first appear, and Jack himself will also have to wear different masks as he becomes the different archetypes as represented in the tarot. In fact, Jack is about to become a father archetype on top of his Christ Saviour persona as he moves towards his next goal. And so, passing by the crazed rabbit mask wearing splicers, the checkered floors and the litany of wine bottles, Jack passes through the bathroom and into the theatre. On his way there, we also see symbols of Pisces on the wooden tables and a fish-tailed statued plinth referring to the age Pisces, which in fact represents the age of Christ himself. The wine, by the way, references alchemy again, and as a quick elucidation of that, I'd like to read the following quotation, which not only provides a nice introduction for our later analyses, but is beautifully poetic. Before modern science there was alchemy, a tradition that, among other goals, aimed to change one thing into another more valuable. Although we know that science is at the heart of the transformation of grape to wine, there is also a kind of alchemy taking place. The life force of the vine produces fruit that becomes wine, still breathing, evolving. As we drink it, our consciousness is fueled and enlivened. Our senses become more aware. This is the great gestalt of wine. It asks us to be still for a moment and listen to the story that binds us all within the energy of life. The winemaker's relationship to the grapes guides the decisions: whole or crushed berries, stems on or off, vessel size, shape and form, fiberglass or oak, pump over or punch down by paddle or foot, all have the goal of introducing oxygen to help the yeast grow and convert the sugar to alcohol. Energy is commingling, cells splitting, alchemy is taking place, transforming a sweet little grape into a timeless elixir. One can call the process science, but the life within wine is pure magic. And so our hero arrives on top of a small theatre called Footlight. Jack arrives there by taking the left-hand path through the men's bathroom, and this path represents the masculine pillar of strength in masonry. Also, it represents the left column in the Kabbalistic tree of life, and in a more modern sense, masculine and destructive magic. This is opposed to the gentler, more healing and feminine right-hand path associated with white magic. Atlas tells us here that the little sisters are monsters and collect the Adam that everyone wants and everyone needs. He is of course trying to persuade the player that the girls should be sacrificed for their Adam, but as we will see, this comes down to a simple moral choice. And as I have mentioned before, saving the girls and rejecting the Adam becomes the superior path. And so we push on through the next level, which is called the Medical Pavilion, with its checkered floors, and for now there is a symbol here we need to look at before finally encountering the Empress. In the Medical Pavilion level we see a symbol of two snakes wrapped around a staff adorned with a pair of wings on top. This symbol is used in the pharmaceutical industry, i.e. modern-day alchemy, and is called a caduceus. In fact, in modern terms the symbol is being used incorrectly, as the correct symbol should be what's called the rod of Asclepius. This symbol is similar to the caduceus, but only contains one snake and is named after the Greek god of the same name. It represents healing and medicine. It is said that when wielded, it can awaken the sleeping and put to sleep the awake. It can revivify the dead and take life from the living. It therefore represents a symbol that can change one state into its polar opposite. The caduceus, however, is composed of the staff of Hermes Trismegistus in Greco-Egyptian mythology, but probably dates back to around 4000 BC, where its roots come from the Sumerian goddess Ningisida. Symbolically, it represents Hermes, the planet Mercury. Mercury is also one of the alchemical base substances, by the way, and the substance itself. Later it became used more commonly as a symbol of commerce and negotiation, as its quality to balance and create reciprocity made it ideal to represent good business practices. Coming back therefore to Bioshock, it's interesting to note that both of these symbols, whether used correctly or not correctly, both fit perfectly into the game's narratives. We have the symbol used correctly to refer to Ryan's capitalistic ideals as the caduceus, and alchemical processes if we interpret it as the rod of Asclepius. Personally, I have no qualms in accepting both of these symbols as manifest in the game, as both of them fit perfectly and consistently. The concepts of alchemy do highlight themselves, however, on numerous occasions in the game, so we should bear this in mind as we progress through the story. To conclude this part of the essay, I'd also like to just mention that the rod of Asclepius and the caduceus are both related to opposites and polarizing balance, and this is something I have already mentioned many times in preceding episodes. The medical pavilion has a few other symbols in Esoterica I'd like to highlight before we meet Tenenbaum, and so for now I'm going to leave that for the next episode. I did hope to introduce you to her in this episode, but as I want to make sure this essay series is thorough, and there are a few more details to go through first, I'll leave you here to digest and meditate on the game thus far. Thank you very much for watching. Episode 7 coming soon.